With Venus entering its rulership of Libra this week, love is in the air. But with Venus opposing Neptune this week, so is delusion, illusion, and confusion. Hi, my name is Comet. Welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet, and welcome to your Magic Monday Astrology Forecast for the week of August 26th to September 1st, 2024, where we are discussing how you can co-create with the cosmos, how you can align with the astrology, how you can plan with the planets when it comes to this week's horoscope and every other week's horoscope as well. Here on Magic Monday, we're passionate about taking an empowered look to your weekly horoscope, so that rather than feeling powerless to the mean planets above us, we feel inspired to move into the week, taking advantage of some of the more opportune, advantageous energies, as well as steering clear of some of the more challenging energies that await you. And ultimately knowing that when we talk about your weekly forecast, we're talking about the astrological weather. May that affect some of your plans, may that have you feel in some type of ways, sure, but just like weather, it's constantly changing, it's constantly in flux. And that could be healing about astrology, honoring that this too shall pass, things are consistently shifting and moving and rearranging. Especially with this week, we've got a lot of planetary activity, my loves. We have a protagonist who usually kind of sits in the shadows. We don't get to talk about Pluto very much, as Pluto is the slowest moving planet in astrology. But when Pluto decides to step onto the main stage, when it comes to the weekly forecast, when Pluto makes its presence known. So Pluto is ingressing back into Capricorn this Sunday, September 1st. Now, you might have thought with Pluto now in Aquarius, you might have thought, okay, now we're working with Pluto in Aquarius until 2044. Not so fast. Pluto in Capricorn has an encore. Okay, it's taking its final bows in terms of the Pluto and Capricorn story that's been playing out collectively as well as within your life since 2008. Pluto has been dabbling in between Aquarius and Capricorn, and this is the final time that it moves back into Capricorn before it settles back into Aquarius for good until 2044. So it's not quite done. We might have thought that we were done. Pluto exited stage left from the dramatic Pluto and Capricorn Act 2, but it's got something up its sleeve, right? It's got its finale in store. And so that story won't all play out this Sunday, but it is important to pay attention. And when we talk about Pluto in Capricorn, this mostly plays out around big business, these structures, and government is going to be threaded into a bigger story. And I do strive here on Magic Monday to really focus on personal astrology. But just know that there could be a transformative journey, an evolutionary process that has been underway within your universe since 2008 that you are going to be asked to revisit this fall. Not to go back into the past, but just to understand how far you've come, how you have evolved, how you have transformed, how things might have fallen apart within the Capricorn section of your chart, but for the purpose of them falling together. And even though Pluto is entering this sector of the sky that does have a lot to do with the work that's been underway since 2008, I don't want you to feel like this is a week that's tied up in the past. Quite the contrary, my love, because we are in Virgo season now, and Virgo's ruler Mercury does station direct on Wednesday, August 28th. What a nice little Mercury's Day surprise. And this is giving us clearance to move forward, to look ahead. With Mercury retrograde, we could have experienced certain slowdowns, certain delays, certain communication difficulties, certain technological difficulties. And now with Mercury stationing direct, there is this cosmic clearance around pushing onward, taking all of that data that Mercury retrograde could have brought to our awareness within these past couple weeks and moving on, looking towards the future. Now, we also have quite a bit of Venus activity this week, my loves, and Venus has to do with our love lives, Venus has to do with our financial lives, Venus has to do with our beauty, so those also can be areas of focus. Venus does shift from her fall of Virgo into her rulership of Libra, so Venus is getting quite a bit happier. You know, with Venus and Virgo these past couple weeks, we could have found that we were being quite critical within our love lives. We could have found that we were being quite perfectionistic around our appearance. We could have found that we were being very pragmatic as it relates to our pleasure. And now with Venus dipping into her domicile, there's just an energy around wanting to enjoy life, wanting to enjoy connection, wanting to enjoy beautiful environments, wanting to enjoy equitable partnerships. So that also can be a focus this week. We also have Uranus, the planet of novelty, innovation, stationing retrograde, which again does play out within a more collective level, but you also can be feeling this shakeup within your world around where it is that you are wanting change, where you are wanting to live in more authenticity with who it is that you are, where it is that you are wanting to rebel against what feels restrictive. So my loves, as you can tell from our brief little celestial synopsis, we have a lot to discuss this week. But before we do, take a step inside my cosmic cafe. My loves, what are we sipping on to start our week? I do want to highlight that this is such an incredible time of year to invite in new routines. Like with the sun now in Virgo, there is a spotlight to our rituals, to our routines. And listen, I know I'm talking like a 6th house stellium and a Virgo moon and rising. Listen, guilty as charged. I do love routines. I do light up when talking about routines. And I know this topic can be quite boring for a lot of people, but I think the energy this week, especially with Venus in Virgo trining Uranus and Taurus, it's believing in your ability to add new things into your daily routine that can better your physical, your mental, and your emotional well-being. A lot of times when you're striving to integrate a new routine, the first couple of days you're... Why?
The first couple of days you're...
Why did that happen? What? Okay, I'm excited that my ruler Mercury is stationing direct this week, just so wacky stuff like that stops happening. Did you guys just see that hoop just jump ship from my ear? Like, what did I do to you? Okay, we're back. We're back. Let's hope he decides to stay around. Jesus, I must be talking a lot or something. But anyways, where were we? So with the Venus in Virgo trining Uranus, there is an energy around potentially being open to novel ways that you can better your own physical, mental, and emotional well-being through your routine. That is a focus when it comes to Virgo season. And I know when we talk about routines, a lot of times it feels stuffy and it feels boring, but if anything, it can open you up to more abundance. It can open you up to more presence. It can open you up to more layers of yourself and even excavating your own potential. That is truly what I believe. I do believe that if we want big things to show up in our life, it comprises of a lot of little things. It comprises of a lot of little decisions that we make every single day. And to me, I want somebody to be able to take a slice of my life on any given day and be able to see my own values woven in. Around, you will likely see me move my body because health is a value of mine. You will likely see me connecting with those that I hold dear because that is a value of mine. You will likely see me studying a topic that expands my soul because that is a value of mine. Little decisions, those little actions every single day, they do snowball. They do build momentum. So I just wanted to say that because it's important to believe in your ability to initiate new routines. If you're someone where you're like, oh, I always start and then I fall off the wagon, or I'm just not somebody who can like live my life that way, no worries. Make them true to you. With Venus in Virgo trining Uranus, don't feel like you have to get up at 5 a.m. and take cold showers if that's not true to you. And even though I'm very pro routine, as you can tell, I was not somebody before this year actually who had a very solid morning routine. It was very much get my coffee brought to me in bed so I could stay in bed and scroll on my phone until I finally guilted myself into going into work. But this year I finally got on a morning routine. Now I drink a full cup of lemon water before I drink any coffee. That is my rule. I cannot have coffee until I drink the full cup of lemon water. I take my lemon water over into my book nook and I meditate for 15 minutes. I have never been somebody who's been able to meditate consistently. I know how much good it does for my life when I do it, but I just have not been somebody who's been able to commit to it. But now it's like I'm not even fully awake and I'm already heading to grab my lemon water and head to my book nook. Like these things do become second nature to you. And I will say after meditation, ooh, that first cup of coffee hits so good. And what I also integrated into my routine is, along with my cup of coffee, I take my shot of Magic Mind. And today within the Cosmic Cafe, I've made my Magic Mind into a matcha latte. So a little bit of disruption to my typical routine, but sometimes I just love to be able to sip on it because I really do love the taste of Magic Mind. It's very subtly sweet. It's definitely not too much. And just in case you're not familiar with Magic Mind, here's why I love it. Here's why it's part of my every single day. So Magic Mind is a productivity shot. So what it does is it helps you get into flow state so that you are able to focus. So integrating Magic Mind into my daily routine for the past 3 months, I've had Magic Mind before, but last 3 months I have not missed a day, okay? And when I say it has been a very productive time of my life, it's been a very focused time of my life, I've been able to really get into flow state. As you can tell, especially if you've been watching me for a while, I tend to skew on the frenetic, kind of all over the place type vibe. When it comes to my energy, I tend to kind of be a little frazzled. I tend to be a little flustered. That's kind of my MO. That's kind of my baseline. And a lot of times in an effort to be more and more productive, I would drink more and more caffeine, which did not help my energy. It just kind of made me even more scattered. And what I've found since integrating Magic Mind is that I only need 1 cup of coffee. I used to drink an entire pot of coffee and then typically like an energy drink or something midday. I found that I feel a lot calmer. I don't feel as panicked. I don't feel as stressed, particularly when it comes to little things. I do believe that's because of the nootropics and the adaptogens that are within Magic Mind. And I've found that I don't have that midday crash. So again, these results have been in conjunction with my drinking a full cup of water in the morning and meditating. But to me, it's felt so empowering to have this new ritual to show up and start every single day, regardless of what's happening within my world, making my own mental wellness, my own calmness a priority. I just feel like even making that decision has a ripple effect into the rest of your life. And I'm really grateful for Magic Mind for being such a part of that. So if you're inspired this Virgo season to integrate some new routines that are good for the body, mind, and soul, I deeply recommend Magic Mind. You can utilize my code COMET to get 20% off your Magic Mind purchase. And I want to give a warm thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday and keeping my mind more magical via focused clarity and productivity. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. So here on Magic Monday, we have a weekly segment called Vibe Check of the Week. And in this weekly segment, we essentially compare all of the astrological transits that we are experiencing this week to a real life scenario in order to help familiarize you with how these cosmic events may materialize down here on planet Earth. I'm not saying this exact situation will play out within your universe. Just tune into the emotions, the dynamics, the themes to see what may come alive as you navigate your week. And this week's astrology feels like falling back in love with life itself. So the vibe check is, you've been moving through something challenging. A lot of us are right now. We are still in the fallout of last week's erratic Aquarius full moon. Let me know how that was for you all. I'll have last week's Magic Monday above as well as below. We have the fallout, some reverberations and aftershocks of that electric Aquarius full moon on Monday with the last quarter Gemini moon. And we're also still dealing with Jupiter square Saturn. This exacted last Monday, but it's still separating within the cosmos. We're still dealing with some growing pains. We're still dealing with an energy around feeling stuck. I just want to say, if you've been moving through something, you are not alone. And this week's astrology really feels like a turning point of sorts around falling back in love with life again. Because when we talk about Venus entering Libra, of course, a lot of our minds are going to go to romantic love. And yes, a lot of us could be feeling this much more flirty, charismatic energy. Some people could be getting back into dating. Some people could experience extra harmony within their relationship, sure. And that's all well and fine. But it's important not to just limit love to romantic love, to person meets person and the two get married and what have you. There's so many different forms of love alive in everything and everyone and everywhere if you are looking for it. And a lot of times when you're moving through something, you're not in the space to be able to look for it. Love can be smiling at babies when you are on a walk. Romance can be taking in a beautiful sunset. Love can be the chit-chat with the elderly man who's always in front of your coffee shop with his newspaper. Like, love and romance is alive everywhere, even if you do not have a partner right now, the traditional ways that we think of love and romance. And this energy just feels like seeing the romance, the beauty back in life life again. And it shows up in very mundane circumstances. Keep in mind, we've got a lot of Virgo energy, right? And if we just limit love and romance and the feeling of such in these fairy tale moments, in the day that we get engaged and the day that we get married and the first kiss that we have with someone special, we are limiting our ability to receive all of these daily reminders of the beauty and the love that exists within this world if you're paying attention. Because that walk, you could smile at babies or you could look down and think about the person who's not texting you back. That sunset you can take in and marvel at the earth and its wonder. You can think about your ex and wonder if they're going to change. You could chat with that elderly man at the coffee shop, or you can argue with your partner back and forth on text while you're waiting for your latte. Like, the choice is yours. And again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with romantic love. I'm just saying let's widen our definition of love and its existence within this world. Let's not wait to live until we feel like we have that ideal partner within our life, or that our love life is perfect. Or let's not feel like our love does not have value if we do not have love, romantic love, alive within our world. There's so much beauty within this world, and this week's astrology feels like awakening to it, opening yourself up to it. And so we'll say within the vibe check, you've been moving through something. We'll say that you're lovesick, okay? You're heartbroken. You're in love with someone who's not in love with you. And you have been distilling a lot of your romanticizing on this person, right? You've been idealizing your life with them. You've been projecting how this person is going to save your life and take you away from here and fix all of your problems. And because this person is not returning your affections, we'll say, there's been an energy where you are just completely withdrawn within yourself, just stuck within your own head, just going over and over around, how can I make this person love me? Because a lot of times when we're in that vibration, we could feel like this person is our only lifeline, it's our only access to love. And a lot of times when we are caught up on someone or stuck on something, can obsess about it and kind of withdraw into ourselves and lose out on these beautiful moments that we can have access to every single day if we are looking for them. And this week feels like the turning point around realizing this person that you've been stuck on is just a person. With Venus opposite Neptune, we could have a tendency to put people on pedestals, right? To either project, this person is going to save my life, they're going to take me away from all of my problems, or even if it's someone from your past, right? Thinking, okay, they're going to change this time. It's fascinating because after we have this Venus opposite Neptune alignment, which sometimes can be a little delulu, okay? Has many manifestations, we'll talk about it, but it can be a little delusional. It can be projecting, idealizing, romanticizing, putting all of this romantic energy solely towards one person, right? And there's an energy with the ruler of Venus, Mercury, stationing direct right after, around having this turning point, around allowing yourself to drop the facade, realizing this person that you had on a pedestal is just a person, realizing that you might be idealizing you and your ex's best moments, but there's a lot of other data that you're not particularly taking into account when you are tuning into the pretty pictures that you guys took together. That this person that you feel like your life cannot continue on unless they love you back, it's just a person, and life is going to continue on. There's an energy around just snapping into clarity, around realizing I have been putting all of my romantic energy, my idealistic energy, even my creative energy, I've been putting it all to this person as the canvas. Was that true to reality? Maybe not. And can this be applied other places? It's kind of the energy of Venus trining Uranus, Venus entering Libra, Venus trining Pluto, is recognizing that sometimes it could be such a limit of our own love to put it all towards one person. I'm not saying you have to date a million people. I'm just saying find the love that is existent within your world, within the strangers that you connect to, within the hearts to hearts that you have within your friends, with the energy of alignment that you have with your clients, and connections to your pets, your connection to nature, your connection to spirit. Love is alive and it is everywhere. And it just feels like the energy around getting out of your own head around where love is not and starting to tap into where love is. And so this week feels like falling back in love with life itself. And it's not going to come through in this sweeping moment this week. It feels, maybe for some of you. Maybe for some of you, who knows? We do have Uranus switching directions, which sometimes could bring things that are unexpected. But it feels like it's coming through the mundane, right? Around just having certain rituals that remind you how beautiful life can be. Yes, it can be so sorrowful, it can be so heartbreaking, it could be so challenging, but there's almost an energy around sharpening into awareness around the darkness that I've walked through has given me the capacity to fully see the light. The grief that I've navigated has provided clarity around how sweet and precious and finite this life experience is, and I need to grab it with both hands. This heartache that I am suffering through makes me so grateful for the friendship connections that I have within my world and my capacity to pour love into them. You know love exists because of the love that you give, and that doesn't always show up within first kiss and romantic dates. It shows up in the time that you bought the people behind you's drive-through order. It's up within the times that you gave your coworker a compliment. Like with the energy of Virgo, and even with Venus and Virgo opposing Neptune, there's a lot of magic to be found within the mundane. And sometimes when we stop projecting, romanticizing, and idealizing all of our energy on a romantic interest, we start to have access to more creativity, to more idealism as it relates to our daily life. So my loves, will give this some more nuance as we take it into our day by day. I just want to give you a reminder that I'm located here in California. So when I mention a time zone, I am referring to PDT. Please adjust to your time zone wherever it is that you are located within this wide, wonderful world. I also do have a tendency to talk quite fast. So please feel free to hit the gear icon here on YouTube where you can slow me down to align my rate of speaking to your rate of processing. I also have added timestamps below for your convenience. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology forecast for Monday, August 26th. Happy Monday, August 26th. So today we have a last quarter moon in Gemini, and this exacts at 2:26 a.m. PDT. And what this creates is a cosmic check-in point to next week's Virgo new moon, as well as a callback to last week's Aquarius full moon, which was a bit chaotic, it was a bit turbulent, it was a bit all over the place. Take it back to the vibe check around this energy of moving through something. This would be the part when you start to doubt your judgment. You start to question if that was the right decision. Like this would be the energy around, okay, I chose to leave this relationship, I chose to leave this job, I chose to move towards this habit, but now it's a hard night and I wish I had this person around me. And you start to doubt and question, was that the right thing? And with the energy of Jupiter expanding what it touches, with it in Gemini, it expands this curiosity or these questions that we have around, was that the right decision? Was that the wrong decision? Am I to be trusted? Should I trust other people's opinions and thoughts more than my own? It's almost just like a rabbit hole and looking for answers and just finding more questions and really beginning to overthink, was that the right call? And when I was getting ready for Magic Monday, sometimes messages just start to show up when I'm getting ready and my Spotify on shuffle, and the song By Design started playing by Kid Cudi. I think there's a feature Andre Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken. And the line that stuck out, and I was like, ooh, that's a message for Magic Monday, was when you think too much, you're removing what's moving. Which is true. There's an energy of a Mercury ruled sun, that's Virgo, with a Mercury ruled moon, that's Gemini, and the two are clashing. That's what creates a last quarter moon, or like the halfway moon energy in the sky. And so it feels like we're at battle, our wants and our needs being pulled in either directions. And the reason we're struggling with this indecision or with this internal chaos is because of our mind. We're trying to figure it out via our mind around, should I have stayed? Was it right to go? What would have happened if I would have stayed? What would have happened if this? What would have happened if that? It couldn't have unfolded any way beyond how it unfolded. And you made the right decision that you were able to make at that particular moment. And a lot of times when we try to overthink, when we try to figure it all out, when we try to go back and analyze the past decisions that we've made and questioning if we should have done something different or if we should have tried harder or what have you, you're just getting so stuck in your head that you are removing what's moving. We are nearing eclipse season, my loves. And when it comes to eclipse season, this is faded course correction season. Things destined arriving into our world and things outdated departing our world. And no matter how late you stay up, no matter how many times you think about what if it would have happened this way or what would have happened if this happened, it couldn't have unfolded any way than how it did. And all you can do is just proceed forward with what is moving. Like again, this energy of the vibe check is the first part being so in your head around this problem and kind of withdrawing into yourself, because that's what you do when you're overthinking. You're so lost in your inner world that you're not paying attention to how the world is moving around you, to this sunset, to this person outside of the coffee shop, to this baby who's grinning at you, right? You are removing what's moving when you're just being lost within your own thoughts. And again, I'm not saying it's a light switch, okay? My overthinkers, I'm not saying it's easy, but there is an ask, particularly on Monday, observing where you are just losing yourself within your own thoughts and thus removing yourself from the outside world. Getting so lost within overthinking around what if this happens, what if this happens, that you forget that life is happening all around you and you are missing it because you are so stuck in your head. And this could also show up around doom scrolling, right, on social media, taking in everybody else's opinions, so much so that you can't even hear your inner voice speak. You know, we always need to check in, especially if you're a content creator like myself, we always need to check in around if we are using these apps or if these apps are using us. And while I believe that I am a sovereign free thinker, I believe you are a sovereign free thinker. I think we all have our own opinions. I think we all have our own perspectives. Just be mindful where your algorithm or the content that you are consuming could be in subtle ways influencing your mind and influencing your perspective. I had to intentionally reset my TikTok algorithm because the content that I was being shown was beginning to shape and warp my worldview into one that was very, very fear-based. And again, it's not to say that there was anything wrong with the content that I was consuming, but there can be an energy around when you're getting all this content tailored to particular interests or particular problems or whatever, you can feel like, oh, well, everybody's going through this, or oh, this is how the world is, or this is how everybody is, and it's not. It's not real life, but it can feel like that. So refreshing my TikTok algorithm, I reset the content that I was being shown, and I didn't realize how I was viewing the world due to how much content was drilling these certain points or these certain perspectives into my mind. It's not to say that those points and perspectives do not have validity, but when that's all that you are seeing, you begin to think that the world is a certain way and that people are a certain way. And it's important to go out in the world. There's an artist, her name is Madison Beer. She wrote a memoir, and in her memoir, she talks about when she was being canceled and ridiculed online, and she was just obsessing over the hate that she was receiving. And a therapist that she worked with said, go to the grocery store, like go places. Nobody knows who you are. Like nobody cares. Like a lot of times if you're a creator and you're getting hate, or even if there's just a lot of negative social media content that you're absorbing around how people are evil and the world is bad, you can feel like that is how the world is. But then you go outside and you see babies smiling at you, you see dogs playing, you see elderly people outside reading newspapers, like you see all of these beautiful moments. Mind you, it's not all bad. People are not all evil. And what I'm seeing online is not the whole truth. Like again, Gemini energy, there's two sides to everything, and there's a duality, right? There's the good and the bad. Like it's important not to feel like one perspective is the only perspective, especially if you're observing that it's a perspective that's giving you a lot of anxiety, that's contributing to a lot of overthinking. There's an ask to get quiet, and that's going to be hard on Monday because you can just feel like your phone is blowing up. Everything is beeping at you and dinging at you. Nothing is working. You're trying to do certain tasks at work and everything's taking forever, and the time that it's taking for this to load, now you're being pulled over here, and then you forgot what you were doing, and oh, you meant to do this, and you have 20 tabs open. Like you might find that your focus is a challenge on Monday. And keep in mind, Mercury's still retrograde at this point. So you can feel like nothing is working, like there's delays, like there's miscommunications, and you could just feel frazzled and fried and all over the place. And even hearing different people's perspectives, the group chat could be blowing up and you're unsure about this and you want to ask someone's opinion about this. And there's just a lot of noise on Monday. And one of my favorite ways to leverage Mercury retrograde is really getting quiet. It's really getting quiet. Like the more that you feel tempted to ask other people, what should I do? Or get readings, what should I do? The more it's time for you to really get quiet, really come inward, especially if you're in analysis paralysis or you're just stuck. You're not moving forward because you're so in your own mind around, I could do this, or should I have done this? When you think too much, you're removing what's moving. Listen to the song By Design and get out of your mind, okay? Work out, go look people in the eye, like connect to your physical world. If you are overstimulated, try a walk where you're not listening to anything, not a podcast, not music. If you're someone where you always have something playing, listen, I feel you on that. I've been challenging myself with Mercury Retrograde to get more comfortable with silence, to get more comfortable with the in-between, to not feel like every moment needs to be one that is entertaining and where I am inputting information, because we can just feel more scattered and all over the place when that is the case. Now, like I said, this is a callback to last week's Aquarius full moon, which for many of us was a driver of change. It was a driver for doing something that is in authenticity with who it is that you are. And with the last quarter Gemini moon, this could be a call around either releasing something, maybe even releasing a mindset associated with it. Again, some of you could be doubting your judgment, going back and forth. Was that the right thing? Should I have sent that text? Should I have reacted that way when I saw that text on my partner's phone? You can be doubting yourself, wondering what was the right thing to do. But the secret is that there is no right thing to do. There's only what's best to do at that particular moment. And with every decision that you make, new opportunities and new possibilities adjust to accommodate your decision. There are many different paths for you. And the more that you get stuck around, was it the wrong decision? The more that you are removing what's moving for you. And so it's just this energy around trusting, hey, whoever I was last week, I made the decisions that were the most empowered and inspired for that person, and all I can do is move forward. You know, Mercury's switching directions in a couple of days. All I can do at this point is move forward. What's done is done, and I have to trust that they were doing last week me doing what's best, and I have to trust that this week's version of me has to do what's best as well. I remember I once had to make a very difficult decision to end a relationship. And I did deal with a lot of indecision. Was that the right thing to do? I went back and forth on it quite a bit. And there was part of me that was like, was that the one that got away? Did I mess up my destiny? Did I mess up my world when I chose to leave that relationship? And when I broke up with this person, I was like in this weird transitional stage of my life because I graduated college. And now I broke up with my college boyfriend, but I was still living in my college house because it was summertime. I was working part-time at my job over the summer. It turned into full-time 9 to 5 come September, like a half schedule in summer, just kind of like ease into adulthood. And so I was just like 1 foot into college and like 1 foot into adulthood and just feeling all confused. And now I didn't have my college boyfriend anymore. And before this time, I mean, every single minute was maximized. If I was not at work, I was with my boyfriend. If I was not with my boyfriend, I was at my internship. Like I was just always doing something. And all of a sudden I had space, a lot of space to overthink, a lot of space to doubt if there was the right thing. And I want to say it was like 2 days after the breakup was official. I remember it was very, very fresh. It was very, very new. My best friend brought someone over. And this was someone that she had met on a dating app. They had hung out that whole day. They didn't have like a major connection. They didn't have a major spark. And they were at the house so that my roommate could grab her work uniform, take this girl home, like drop her back off at home, and then go to work. So they were there only for about like 10 minutes. And because I was there and I was just like, what do I even do? What is my life now? I struck up a conversation with this girl. And I'm a friendly person, certainly, but it was like a stage of my life in which I wasn't like so open to new friends. Like, you know, I had my friends, I had my group, I had my boyfriend, I guess at this point, not anymore, but I just had my people, you know, so I wasn't somebody who was like thirsting or fiending for new friends. But because I had this space, I just like chatted up this random girl that my roommate had brought over. And we're just chit-chatting. And randomly I asked her, I was like, do you want to go for a hike? Do you want to go for a hike? I didn't even know this girl. My roommate didn't even know this girl. She just met this girl. And this stranger was like, sure, I'll hike with you. She had just moved into the area. And so she was just like open for friends, like just wanted to meet people. And we had just chatted for like 5 minutes. And I don't know why I asked her if she wanted to go for a hike, but she did. She wanted to go for like a sunset hike. So we get in my car and we just freaking hit it off. We just get so weird together. Like as an Aquarius placement myself, she's an Aquarius sun and moon. Like I just love the people that I can just get weird with and are just like on a similar wavelength. It's so rare. And when I find those people, I'm just like, who are you? And so we went on this like fun, magical hike with this stranger. And I would not have had that experience if I was still with my boyfriend. I know, I was like very much a my man kind of gal back then. I would have been just with him, probably like laid up in his bed watching Netflix or something. Like I would not have been open to that random sunset hike with that girl. And that girl became so beyond that girl. Like she became one of my best friends. She is the reason I'm sitting here in front of this camera. She's the one, I won't go into the whole lore, but she's the one who I started Astro Goddess with. That was my first astrology business. And the one who gave me the confidence that I could do this for real as a career. Like she became such an instrumental component into my life. And I would have missed out on that potential timeline had I stayed in that relationship. So yes, there is likely a timeline where I could have stayed in that relationship, and I'm sure it would have been beautiful. Like he's a great person. There's nothing wrong with that timeline. But whenever I get in that moment around, was he the one that got away? I just think, oh my goodness, but that experience gave you Sarah, and it gave you your YouTube channel, and it gave you so much else within your world. Certainly the timeline with him could have been beautiful as well. But whenever I get into that indecision, reminding myself, yeah, well, that decision that you made allowed you to connect with Sarah, who became such a huge part of my life. So there's really no wrong decisions to make in life. I mean, please do not hurt people. Please do not break the law. But if there is just options and opportunities, either way you're going to learn something. Either way, new opportunities, new characters are going to enter into your world. And even though Venus trine Uranus doesn't exact until tomorrow morning, again, that energy could be alive within your Monday as well. Pay attention to who you can meet, right? Because I could have just been in my college room that day, just like head down, just like overthinking my decision to end my relationship, wondering if I should break no contact and reach out to him and try to restart again. Like that interaction, it was a 10-minute window. Like if I was disengaged, if I was detached, if I was stuck in my own mind, Sarah would have just gotten dropped back at home. Like I said, my roommate and her did not click, so they probably would have never hung out again. Like it was such a small window. And that's why we need to get out of our mind and potentially sometimes get off our phones and get into this experience. Because with Venus trine Uranus, opportunities to connect with people are all around you. And maybe that shows up in big ways around new friends who are on the same wavelength or new romantic partners that you could build a life with. It can also just show up in minor interactions, just those sweet interactions with baristas and that client who you connect with where you really are present and you're really there with them. Just there's novel opportunities to connect all around you. Get out of your mind and get into this experience in order to find them. On Tuesday, August 27th at 12:24 a.m. PDT, so shortly after midnight, early on Tuesday, we have Venus in Virgo trine Uranus in Taurus, which can bring novel, opportune, spontaneous opportunities to connect. So if you are in a relationship, this could be an energy around, let's do something new. Let's break the routine, or let's find a new routine together. Maybe once a week we make a commitment that we're gonna go for a walk in a beautiful location, or we're going to do something active together. We're gonna go to the gym together and then meal prep together. Like opportunities to do something new. Yes, maybe it's healthy-ish with the Venus in Virgo, but infusing some novelty, some spontaneity into the connection. I would also say just being open to random people who could enter your world, right? Once you make a decision, a spider web of opportunities open up for you, and that brings new opportunities to connect. And so just being open, just being aware to spontaneous opportunities to connect with other individuals. There can be an energy with the Venus in Virgo, potentially around meeting someone at the gym, maybe even having a crush at work or like a crush on a customer. You know, Venus in Virgo, we might be doing our daily routine, but with the trine to Uranus, meeting someone unusual or out of the norm as we are. And again, I want to manage our expectations here. I'm not saying everybody's meeting the love of our lives this week. Hopefully someone is, you never know. But with Venus and Virgo, there could be somebody that you are on a nice wavelength with. Again, like my connection with Sarah that I shared earlier, you're my kind of weird. You're on my sort of wavelength. Those sort of connections are so lovely to be around. And you might even find you're drawn to somebody who's outside of your typical type. You're drawn to somebody who's very different than you. You're drawn to someone's eccentricity. You're drawn to someone's weirdness. And while I think we should widen our perspective of love and not just limit it to it only showing up within, traditional ways, I think with the energy of Venus trine Uranus and Venus opposing Neptune, it's just knowing that with every connection that we are part of, that also opens up its own spider webs, opportunities, and possibilities. And we meet new sides of ourselves when we do connect with different sort of people and when we do merge into it. We can connect to sides of us that are more wild. We can connect to sides of us that are more free. We can connect to sides of ourselves that are more alive, that are more electric. And sometimes it's nice to lose ourselves within these sort of connections, with the energy of Venus also building to oppose Neptune, to be inspired by it. But it's important to know, especially when we consider Neptune governs anything reflective, screens, mirrors, cameras. It's important to know that when you do connect with people while you are in their energy and merging with them, don't feel like what you experience in that connection is only accessible via their vessel. That's where heartbreak and feeling lovesick gets really challenging, because we're like, I want to feel loved and electric and free and excited like I did when I was connecting with that person. But my love that was existent within you all the while, this person just reflected it to you. Same goes with any love shared and love lost, right? Then while you can miss the connection and the person that you shared it with, just knowing that that compassion that you access, those wild feelings, that lust for life, whatever came alive within this connection, do know that it is not limited to this one person, that simply illuminated and reflected a certain part to yourself. And that's why it's fun connecting with different sorts of people. I tend to think of connections as kind of like a little bit of a paint by numbers. If you're familiar with paint by numbers, basically they have little numbers that correspond to colors, and the more colors that you have, the more it illuminates, the picture altogether. And I think the connections that we share, not just romantic, platonic, coworkers, things of that nature, their colors illuminate new sides to ourselves. And even if this person is no longer on your palette, right? They're no longer in your life, it's still illuminated parts of you to you. Just being open. And I know that's challenging, especially if you've been hurt, right? It's like an energy around, I don't want to let this green on my paint by numbers, right? I never met someone with this exact shade of green, and I'm fearful because I fear the unknown, right? And I've been hurt before, so I want to protect my canvas so that I do not get hurt again. So I'm not open to new colors or new connections or new experiences. But you could be losing out on different dimensions of your own soul that could be illuminated, experience that could be illuminated. So just be open, be aware, be present. We only see opportunities when we are present in the moment and not, overthinking around, the past colors on our canvas that have done us dirty and things of that nature. And that's why it's important, like I was sharing earlier, to be mindful around balancing, viewpoints or perspectives that you hear, you listen to a lot on, social media, or even from your friend group around everyone I date is like this, or everybody's like this, or everybody is like this. It's important to know that as much as that can be the dominant frequency, it's important to know that is not the truth. People are not just all one thing. As much as it can feel like that, because everything we're hearing is people are like this, people are like this, it's important to balance that. And a lot of times you can balance that by just tapping into the sweetness of life overall, right? Those small micro interactions that remind you, people are good at heart. And I also want to say, especially with this trine landing in earth signs, be open to novel money-making opportunities. Stay open, stay aware. I know Venus is not particularly dignified in Virgo, but there can be an energy around being able to spot new opportunities to maximize income, maybe even finding an opportunity to save money with Venus in Virgo, or maybe calling, your gas company or your Wi-Fi and being like, are there any specials? You guys raise my bill. That's such a weird part of being an adult. They have to call every so often and say, hey, can you lower my bill? Why do we have to do all that? I don't understand. But Venus in Virgo trining Uranus might be an optimal time for that. Getting discerning around how you can either invite in more money or maximize the money that's already coming in. I also want to say some of you can find that a client books with you, Monday night, Tuesday morning, who is totally on your wavelength, right? A new connection via work that feels super aligned, like soulmate clients. That's kind of the vibe with Venus trining Uranus opposite Neptune. I've experienced so many soulmate clients who book in in with me, especially within self-care astrology. I think just because I get to work with them so closely and so frequently, I'm just like, where have you been all my life? And I'm so freaking grateful that my business gives me access to connect with all of these vibrant, beautiful souls who truly, I cannot lose touch with the fact that this world is beautiful and that there are pure, kind-hearted, special, wonderful people that exist within it due to the people that I work with. Like, you guys are the constant reminders. No matter how much is going down within my world, I'll hop on a Zoom and be talking to somebody about their soul and their life purpose and be like, gosh, there's so much good within the world. Like, there really is. And it's important to tap into that, whether you just see that in micro ways through work, right? Just small, sweet interactions that remind you of the sweetness of life, right? Or connecting with nature, just connecting with those experiences that help return you to life is sweet and life is good. And we have to find those moments in part of our routine. We have to find those things in the small things, because those big moments of life are few and far between. They're sweet, they're amazing, you know, exciting vacations and weddings and these big life epiphanies, but most of your life will be at the checkout stand. Like, most of your life will be in Zoom meetings. If you're me, most of your life will be walks after work and things of that nature. So being open to the moments of sweetness within it, as well as the reminders of how beautiful this experience can truly be. So Tuesday's lunar aspects, the Gemini moon will align with Jupiter and then square off with Saturn. Again, it's echoing that Jupiter square Saturn tension that exacted last week. Just a heads up, in case you haven't listened, listen to the Jupiter square Saturn all signs forecast just to get dialed in on where that tension, where those growing pains are coming alive within your chart and within your experience. But the Gemini moon essentially passes that point, kind of just bringing that energy and that tension back up to the surface, right? And this could be an energy around, you know, our thoughts hurting our feelings. You know, moon on Jupiter, we could be overthinking, we could be anxious, and with the moon squaring Saturn, feeling defeated because of it, right? Like, again, if you go into new experiences, that new date, right? That new client meeting, that new friendship hangout, right? My sunset hike. If you go into that just thinking about, well, that one time I went on a hike with this person and then they ended up doing me dirty, or gosh, that one time I worked with the client and they left that bad review. Like, if we essentially look in the rear view mirror and look at the car crashes behind us, right? The things that did not work out, we will not be able to drive and move forward and be open to look for signs around, hey, that looks fun or that looks interesting, right? And so there could be an energy around trying to avoid potential heartache by overthinking or thinking, remember that this happened, or remember that this happened, but really just blocking ourselves from this opportunity to connect. Like, ultimately, Gemini moon wants to connect and feel heard. And speaking of, I would say Tuesday might be a really lovely communication day, writing day, speaking day, as the Gemini moon does sextile its ruler, Mercury in Leo. Do keep in mind, Mercury does switch directions tomorrow, and a lot of times when Mercury is getting ready to station, it gets a little extra wacky, okay? So you might have some technical difficulties, things of that nature, but I would definitely say with the Gemini moon sextile Mercury in Leo could be a chatty day, great for writing, great for communication. The Gemini moon also sextiles Chiron in Aries. This happens at 1:11 p.m. And it might be helpful to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Again, I don't share this around good thought, bad thought, good thought, bad thought, but just an energy around every time something comes into your head is more so aligned with worry and anxiety and overthinking, seeking to match it or pair it with a thought that is more positive in nature. Like I said, Gemini is about duality and just striving to balance, you know, the negativity or the anxiety with energies of possibility and opportunity. I am not too well versed with angels. I'm sure a lot of you are much more knowledgeable on the topic, but I have been working more so with angels, and particularly working with the angel Metatron, who, from my understanding, my limited understanding, is responsible with replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts, and I found that it's been quite helpful. So all I'm saying is that could be supportive. You might feel a little tense or a little frustrated in the evening time, particularly around 5 p.m. when the moon aligns with Mars. Could have some road rage driving home, could have some impatience, could be a little snippy or persnickety with your partner coming home. Great time for a workout, especially to get out of your mind. Listen, Virgo sun, Gemini moon, we are all here helps to get into the physical body, particularly to relieve stress, to relieve anxiety. Take a workout class, right? Be open to connect with people while you're there. Keep in mind, Venus is trine Uranus. Go for a walk, look people in the eyes, find connection there. Like, get into this physical experience. I feel like is a really strong ask this week. And then that evening around 10:50 p.m., the Gemini moon squares Venus in Virgo. So a lot of times we can overthink about the big things. Was that the right thing to do to leave that relationship? Should I have stayed in that job? What should I do? But there even could be a temptation on Tuesday to overthink the little things around, I could make salmon or I could make asparagus. And the energy of Venus in Virgo, like wanting to make the right decision or the most efficient decision or the healthiest decision. Again, there are just decisions. There's never going to be the right decision. Like, I guarantee whether you make the salmon for dinner, the tilapia for dinner, like, it's just all opportunities. I just don't want you to get stuck in this analysis paralysis where then you make nothing for dinner because you can't decide if you want tilapia or salmon. That could almost be an energy with Gemini moon square Venus in Virgo. Also, because Venus and Neptune are aligning for their opposition, the Gemini moon squares Neptune early Wednesday. And so you could just kind of be lost in your own head around, oh, salmon. When's the last time I had salmon? Oh, when I was in Alaska, that was so good. And then you're just sitting there thinking about your trip to Alaska and looking through photos from your trip to Alaska and then realizing, I'm hungry. Why didn't I make salmon? Why didn't I preheat the oven? Oh, because I got distracted. Like, that could also be an energy. Getting lost in your own thoughts, getting lost in the overthinking. On Wednesday, August 28th, happy Wednesday, happy Mercury's Day, and happy Mercury Direct Day. So Mercury stations direct at 2:14 p.m. And even though now the planet of communication and thought processes and intellect is now moving forward, I would definitely recommend to walk, don't run. Mercury will not clear its post-retrograde shadow, thus entering a new territory of the sky until September 12th. So when it comes to really important matters like contracts, launches, things of that nature, that's getting into green light territory. I mean, we're in eclipses at that point where that's a whole other story. We'll talk about it, of course, in the channel. But it is all good when it comes to mercurial matters. But with Mercury direct, you should experience this flip of direction is ultimately the energy of retrograde, which, like I've been expanding on, Mercury retrograde can sometimes make us withdraw into ourselves, which can be very fruitful and very helpful around clarifying how you feel about things, craving tying up loose ends from the past before you continue onward, introspecting and reviewing and recalibrating within your own being. Time spent in solitude is not time wasted at all. But sometimes with Mercury retrograde, we can just be lost within our experience. We can be less interested in the outside world. And with now Mercury direct, we can find that we're more in a space around wanting to communicate our ideas, share more even, potentially. And also, it is a flip of direction from the past to the future. Because again, when we're moving through something, it's very natural that we are thinking about the past a lot, or even with that energy of the last quarter moon in Gemini, was that the right decision? Going back and forth, doubting our judgment. And now with Mercury stationing direct, just this energy around, I don't need to drive looking at the rear view mirror. What's ahead of me? There are new stops, there are new signs, right? Even if there might have been some stuff that went on behind me, it doesn't do me any good looking at what's behind me. Like with Mercury direct, you can also just find this energy around, I don't need to go to the past, I've been there before, right? And that makes me miss out on the opportunities of what's coming in, whether that's in big ways or in small ways, right? Of just even seeing some sights when I'm driving around, oh, is that a deer? And oh, I didn't know that was here. And so with the energy of Mercury direct, you should feel this slow and steady call to get out into the world, to communicate more, to be more externally focused rather than internally focused, to be more future-minded rather than more past-minded. And you could also find, just technologically speaking, things should hopefully cooperate with you a little bit more. Let me know, how was your Mercury retrograde? What did you notice? Was this a frustrating one? I would love to hear all of the tea below. But a very peculiar and a very interesting component of Wednesday's astrology that I personally adore is that at 1:25 p.m., Venus in Virgo opposes Neptune in Pisces. And then about 45 minutes later, Mercury stations direct. To me, it feels like a call and response in a certain way, astrologically speaking. Because when we talk about Venus in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces, let's expand on this. This could be the energy of idealizing, of romanticizing people, right? Putting people on pedestals, right? Around this person's going to solve all my problems, or if this person came back, then my life would be perfect. Or even the moon's in Cancer all day, which is an energy of the past, even romanticizing the past, right? Feeling like love was something that you had for a brief while and that passed you and that no longer exists within your world, or that you will never be loved in that way, or you'll never have access to that wildness that exists within you. You know, Neptune is very visionary, imaginary energy, which we can use to build our dreams of what we want, but we can also use it to build our worries of what we don't want, right? Especially with Venus in Virgo, getting into our worry war energy around, did I do something wrong? Was that my only one and true soulmate and I walked away from them, or I did something wrong so that they walked away from me? Like, Neptune can expand and blow up either our dreams or our deepest worries and fears. And for some, that could be associated with something in the past, with the energy of the Cancer moon. You could also find when it comes to connections, there is an energy around being very inspired by them. And while other people and them being your muse is a real thing and it's so beautiful, it's important to know that a lot of times the art is your own making, that this person is the canvas that you projected it onto. A lot of times when we are limerent or we are very obsessed with somebody, you know, putting them on a pedestal, we have designed how we imagine them to be. It's almost a testament to our own imagination, our own creativity, the person that we designed this person to be. I think I've shared this before in a Magic Monday, but to me, what always drives this point home is that, you know, Miss Lizzie Grant, Lana Del Rey, was watching her boyfriend play World of Warcraft and projected or illuminated this whole beautiful song. Video games was inspired by just watching someone play video games in front of her. A very mundane facet of life. Again, Venus in Virgo. And the ability to see something mundane or somebody doing something mundane and be able to project this artistry, this fantasy, this beauty, this romance. Like, it is an art form within its own right, within its own making. But it's important to know that that song that she created was not particularly limited to that person. Like, she did not lose touch with her creativity and her artistry as soon as that person was no longer in her life playing World of Warcraft, right? It was an inspiration, it was a muse that drew that out of her. And considering the same when it comes to the relationships that you've been within. You know, this person could have been deeply inspired. You could have been deeply moved by them. You could have created art about them, and it's not anything to their detriment whatsoever. It's simply just knowing that they might have been the inspiration, but my love, that flowed through you. That is a testament to what it is that you created. So it's important not to feel like when somebody does depart your life that they take that artistry, that beauty, that romance with them. And it's also important to know that yes, romantic love can be a huge driver for inspiration, but you have this ability to project this romance, this beauty on anything in this world, right? Cue now, we have a lot of music coming through this Magic Monday. Cue Everything is Romantic by Charlie XCX. Like, there's lots of moments that can be inspired around you, but you gotta look around and find them, right? And connect. Like, a lot of times we can feel like life feels very colorless or lifeless if we are moving through something, which is completely understandable. But with Venus opposite Neptune, it's just knowing that we can romanticize the mundane. We can project beauty onto the mundane just by nature of our own lens that we view it through. And so looking for those moments of magic within the mundane and striving not to use this Neptune energy around idealizing and romanticizing what this person could be, blowing up your worst fears and your anxieties. Just use this energy to find the beauty, to find the meaning in what is alive currently. And the reason why I said it's kind of like a call and response is because, yes, Venus opposite Neptune can be a little delulu, okay? It could be a little, this is my one and only true love, and I am going to be desolate if they're no longer in my life. And then with Mercury, the ruler of Venus and Virgo, stationing direct, it's like, yeah, I'll be fine. Life goes on. Like, it really feels like a turning point, like I said, within the vibe check around the first part, moving through something in your own head and then realizing, you know, I'm still hurting, right? I'm still going through it, but let me look around. Let me remind myself that life goes on. And also with the energy of Venus opposite Neptune, there could be an energy around, putting people on pedestals, whether it's like projecting what we think that they are like or blowing up their best qualities, right? Diminishing their worst. Like Neptune is very much, cinematic, right? And within movies, there's things that kind of fade out of view. There's things that the light casts on. Like it's not necessarily the most realistic look. And with Mercury Direct, it's almost that energy when you have clarity. You kind of snap out of it, right? Like if you've ever been, delusional or limerent over somebody, like you don't see them clearly. You almost elevate them to this like godlike status within your world. And it's such a turning point, and it's so powerful when you realize, oh, that's just a person. That is just a person. And it's not to say that they're not beautiful and wonderful within their own right, but nobody is a god within our life, and nobody has the capacity to make or break your destiny. And I think with Venus opposite Neptune, it can be challenging because Neptune can allow us to see the divine in somebody else, to see the soul in someone else, right? So if you're a Neptunian, you have that ability, and it can be hard when you're able to see the soul and see the divine in somebody, because it makes it a lot easier to fade worst qualities out of you and to expand their best qualities, right? Or even with Venus and Virgo wanting to fix people or save people, be like, I just know you're a soul struggling with your own journey, so I'm going to, over accommodate. I'm going to do this in order to fix you or save you on your journey. Everybody's soul journey is their own. And I'm not saying that's not a beautiful facet to be able to see the divinity with somebody else. But with Mercury Direct, you also need to see the reality of the situation, the data around, somebody could be a great soul, right? They can have so much potential. That does not mean that they're showing up for me in this 3D reality. That does not mean that they're somebody that I need to have access to me within this 3D reality. And with Mercury Direct, be open for illuminations, for light bulb moments around that, potentially. I just think of my Neptune transits and oh my goodness, Neptune is a hell of a drug. Neptune is a hell of a drug. There are so many people that, it was beautiful. Like, I really feel like my Neptune energy made me see the absolute best in people, and I romanticized them and our experience together, and I created so much art about them, and I idealized them. It's beautiful, and I don't regret any of that, right? But it's important to know that that was not particularly anchored within reality. Like those people that I was casting in my poems, my short stories as these like angels and just these like soulmates and these knights in shining armor, they were just people. They were just people, and they had quite a lot of red flags. But again, a very Neptunian phrase is when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all red flags just look like flags, right? That's very Neptunian. There were certainly some unsavory characters in that mix. But through Neptunian lens, I was able to see the beauty, the romance, the divinity within them. And it was not limited to those people. Like, it is truly transferable everywhere. And I found that it did me a lot of good to take that true art form that I was utilizing in these connections around seeing the best in them and seeing the artistry in them and bringing it out and being able to do the same thing, not limited to people. And particularly unavailable people littered with red flags, to be able to apply that same Neptunian lens to seeing the soul within my clients, to seeing the beauty within nature, to seeing the artistry within my daily walks. Like, I just feel like there is a widening of love and romance that is occurring this week. And I feel like just this energy around, everything is romantic. You can see the magic and the beauty and the artistry within many different things, not just love interests. So from a lunar perspective on Wednesday, the Gemini moon does square off with Neptune shortly after midnight. And do keep in mind, Mercury's getting ready to switch directions at this point. And so you may have some dreams about people from your past. Like I said, the moon enters Cancer 1:47 a.m. So the past could be something that is on your mind, right? And it's important to know that you do not live there anymore. And it does feel like midday when Mercury stations at 2:14 p.m. to be exact. You are looking ahead towards the future, right? But you might find that you wake up like thinking about that dream and thinking about that person and maybe missing their presence within your world. Just to know, that was a particular color on your canvas that illuminated your journey thus far. And I just feel like the Cancer moon sextile Virgo sun is like, you can appreciate your past while also being rooted within your present, right? I do want to share that we are in the waning crescent moon phase as we prepare for next week's Virgo new moon. So you might find, especially with the moon in Cancer, you might find that you are more inclined to want to stay home. You might be feeling a little bit more emotional. You might be feeling inclined to release excess stuff from your home, right? Virgo sun, Cancer moon, balsamic moon energy. You could be really wanting to clear out some stuff. You could want to clear out some emotional clutter. You could be wanting to cord cut, things of that nature. Again, you can let go with grace and gratitude. You can let go with care and compassion. You can love someone without them being within your experience right now, right? You can love the color that they illuminated on your canvas without feeling like you need to carve space for them within your palette. That just can be something alive. But outside of that, I just feel like with the energy of the Virgo sun, sextile Cancer moon, there's just an energy around showing up for your tasks, your rituals, your routines, and showing up for your deep self-care. So on Thursday, August 29th, at 6:23 a.m., Venus, the planet of pleasure, leisure, money, beauty, enters her domicile, the home turf of Libra. And this allows her to dispel all sorts of blessings upon us. When Venus was in Virgo, she had her blessings for sure, but it was a bit muted. It was a bit understated. It was like, yeah, life can feel good so long as you are being efficient and productive and pragmatic. And now with Venus in Libra, we're in the mood for life to feel good, right? We're willing to, yes, have our routines and our rituals that help better the quality of our life, but also with Venus in Libra, also emphasizing and prioritizing connection in all of its forms, as I highlighted. And we can find within our existing connections, we are wanting more of a give and take. We are wanting things to feel more equitable and more balanced. With yesterday's Venus in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces, there can be an energy around overgiving, merging yourself into somebody else's needs, overexerting yourself because either you see the potential in them, you see to the soul in them, right? And now with Venus in Libra, it's really craving and desiring that balanced energy exchange, right? Within our connections, and really appreciating and celebrating the connections where there is this balanced energy exchange. And beyond it being transactional around, you did this, so I did this, really, it's this amplification, honestly. And I feel like Venus in Libra, then going on to trine Pluto, is an reminder of this around when we pour into the right sort of connections and relationships, like it amplifies, right? We receive even more. Like the more that we give, the more that we receive. Like love is powerful, connection is powerful, and it's less about like tit for tat, but just this energy around when we are both pouring in, it becomes this symbiosis, right? And it becomes something even more powerful than either of us could connect on our own. And just being open to that. We are here to connect. And that shows up, yes, in the flowery ways around you're my one true love and let's get married and all of that. But it also shows up around those soulmate clients at work. It also shows up around that person who comes into your coffee shop who always makes you smile. It also shows up around your neighbor who always cracks a silly joke to you. It also shows up around that angel who jumped your car when you broke down on the side of the highway, right? I think that's why we all have such different interests and talents and abilities, is so that we are required to reach out, right? To connect with people in order to get our, needs met, or to get people who are good at what it is that we are deficient in, right? If we were good at all the things, had all the talents and the abilities, we would never, need anybody to show up for us in different ways. It's just acknowledging the power of connection. It's taking time and space for connection, especially harmonious, balanced, equitable connections. And you can find, with Venus in Libra, Mars is still in Gemini. Listen, you can find that you're feeling more charismatic, you're feeling more flirty. If you've been taking a sabbatical from dating, from romance connection with Venus in Virgo, you could have found that everybody was giving you the ick. With Venus in Libra, you might be more able to see, the romance and see the beauty within other individuals. And you might be feeling more charismatic and just more open to connect, because connection has its risks, right? You can get your heart broken. People can be weird. People can waste their time. But the benefits far outweigh that. Even though the energy of Libra is mainly focused around connections, things that are fair and just, I do want to highlight, Venus is sitting pretty now. So you could be finding that you're more inclined to want to shop, dress well, spend money, have comfort, have beauty around you. You're in the mood for life to feel good, right? You're wanting to fall back in love with life. Like that is the crux of the vibe check of the week, is falling back in love with life, and not via these big sweeping moments, but just these energies around appreciation for the small things with the energy of Virgo, and finding the beauty, the romance in everything with the Venus now in Libra. And you can find from a lunar perspective, the Cancer moon trine Saturn in Pisces. So there definitely could be a hard-working, focused energy, with Venus in Libra. This could also show up around wanting more camaraderie within those that you work with. You can find that you're more charming if you work like in a sales role or something of that nature. And with the Cancer moon trining Saturn, you could find that you're using your emotional intelligence in order to guide those sales or anything of that nature. I will say that evening, the Cancer moon does square Chiron. This lands around 8:50 p.m. and there can be certain pain points, certain pings of not feeling a sense of belonging, not feeling truly at home, questioning what home looks like for you, questioning if you are too sensitive to survive. Like these can all be questions that are swirling within you. And I do want to highlight on that note of sensitivity, Venus opposed Neptune yesterday, and Neptune does have a tendency to make us quite weepy. That's the best way I could describe it. It makes us very nostalgic, very sentimental, very emotional. And so with the energy of Cancer moon squaring Chiron and Venus, even though it's in Libra, still separating from Neptune, there could be an energy around, why do I care so much? Why am I so sensitive? Why did I give so much to a connection that didn't give to me? Or anything of that nature. Again, important not to beat yourself up of regrets of the past, and important not to demonize yourself for being a human being who is vulnerable and compassionate and cares about people. Like, do not feel like that is a downside. So on Friday, September 30th, around 5 a.m. PDT, the Cancer moon will sextile Uranus in Taurus. And then around 8:30 a.m.-ish, the Cancer moon will trine Neptune in Pisces. So there is an ask to romanticize your morning, to make time for the rituals, the routines that do soothe you to a soul level within the morning time. Like I shared within my morning routine shift, the ripple effects that I have observed in pretty much every element of my life. Like physically, I feel like I have more energy. Mentally, I feel more calm. Soulfully, I feel more nourished. I do believe there is something to be said about taking time for your soul space and to really set the tone of your day before you decide the tone to be set for you. I am a believer of that, especially now, and Friday might be a really lovely opportunity to try it out. But after the Cancer moon trines Neptune in Pisces, you might find you're in a little bit more of a dreamy space. You're feeling a little bit more emotional. You could be feeling less inclined to do the work, to do the things. Do keep in mind, a lot of times when we are in a waning crescent moon phase, like we are currently, we can feel more exhausted. We can feel more drained. With Cancer moon trining Neptune, you could be just lost in your own world, your own fantasies, mindful around not being stuck in the past with the energy of the Cancer moon. And then at 10:09 a.m., the moon enters Leo, which does draw our awareness to our heart space, to our own identity, to our own self-expression. I will say the Leo moon does oppose Pluto, so you could be feeling some power struggles at work. You could be feeling anxiety. You could be feeling quite paranoid, feeling things very extremely and feeling things very intensely. Because the energy of Leo moon, listen, it has many gifts. It's so heart-centered. It's so creative. But there could be an energy on Friday around getting obsessed with our own problems, so much so that we're forgetting to have perspective, right? And there's an energy with Leo moon sextiling Venus and Libra around 1:10 p.m., like lunch break for a lot of us, around connecting with other people that temporarily pulls us out of our own problems, right? Because sometimes when we're just in our own experience, we can just feel like the this is the worst thing ever. And sometimes it helps to have conversations with others who remind us it's not the worst thing ever. This is what I went through and how I got through it. And it doesn't take away what it is that we're worried about or moving through, but it helps us have perspective, right? We've got the moon talking to Pluto in Aquarius and Venus in Libra, both air signs. Air is our ability to detach, be an objective observer, whereas the energy of Leo moon is very passionate. It's feeling the fullness of its feelings in that particular moment with an intensity. And the energy of air is, how can we view this objectively? How can we view this rationally or logically? Or how can we even connect with other people to remind us that there's more than just what it is that we are currently navigating through? And I will say that lunch hour energy, Leo moon, sextile Venus in Libra, may be nice for a great lunch, right? Maybe being out in nature, maybe taking someone out for a meal, be open to connection. Leo moon is very passionate and very heart-centered, and Venus Libra is very romantic itself. So this can be an energy around finding romance within our day-to-day, whether it's, taking your spouse out for lunch, making something delightful for yourself, showing your self-love, treating your coworker to a meal, all really lovely ways to navigate this energy. So on Saturday, August 31st, firstly, the moon is in Leo all day long. It sextiles Jupiter and Gemini. So if you are feeling inclined to go outside, to look cute, to strut your stuff, to make an appearance at a party, by all means, go ahead. But I do want to highlight, if you are not feeling as inclined, don't pressure yourself. We've got a waning moon week, which sometimes we're just wanting to withdraw. Even though Mercury's now direct, which is more out in the world, we could be finding emotionally, intuitively, we are feeling a pull inward. Like I said, you could be feeling inclined that you want to deep clean. You're wanting to rid yourself of some stuff. You could find that you're wanting to let go of old photos. You're wanting to clear out certain emotions, make peace with certain emotions. A lot can come out before a new moon for the purpose of being swept away for this new start, aligning next week. As we move into September tomorrow, it's important to know that cosmically, astrologically, things are going to get a little interesting from this point onward. And that's because after this Virgo new moon, we are officially in the eclipse window. And that is when faded things come into our experience and faded things depart our experience. And not every eclipse season is life-changing for all of us. Don't you worry, my loves. I've got you covered with all signs eclipse videos. Both eclipses, I got you covered. Don't worry. We'll talk about it. What it's enlivening for your chart. But I just want to say, moving into this new month, things might be a little wacky. They might be a little chaotic. And so if you are particularly feeling this pulse before this new moon around really wanting to clear space or having a lot of emotions come up, this could be helpful to just listen to your intuition, because it could be preparing for you for something that's on the horizon. And I say this not from a fear lens whatsoever, but even from an excitement lens, right? Like, I get excited when before a new moon, I'm very emotional and I feel inclined to get rid of a bunch of stuff, because I know that that is energetically and intuitively me clearing space for what new spiderweb of opportunities and possibilities are on the horizon. And I think that's just an overall tool for navigating Jupiter and Gemini, is where it is that we could be curious and excited rather than feeling like there's a wrong decision and a right decision around, I'm so curious to see what this decision leads to. I'm so curious how that decision that I made formed me into the person that I was meant to be. Like, it's helpful to reframe any feeling of feeling lost around, I'm so curious around what the next stage of my life will be, right? Or being regretful around, I'm so curious what this departure from my life is clearing space for. So eclipses can be intense, but see where it is that you can be open to the possibilities of what may come into your experience this September. And so ultimately on Saturday, we've got a Leo moon, so you may be feeling more inclined to create, maybe connect. The Leo moon does sextile Jupiter and Gemini. Great time to flirt, great time to converse, great time to learn something new, great time to be outside, like I said, if you aren't feeling inclined for it. And this aspect does exact around 11:16 p.m. PDT, so you can find that nighttime is really right for socializing, as well as dressing nice, being seen, being visible. On Sunday, September 1st, so first things first, at 8:18 a.m., Uranus will station retrograde. And this has significance that really ripples out beyond Sunday, and honestly transcends even our own experience. A lot of times when outer planets are switching directions, it speaks a lot to the collective. But we do feel planets strongly when they do shift directions. And again, Mercury stationed direct, so now our viewpoint, our mindset is on the future. And with Uranus stationing retrograde, there can be a pull inward in regards to the changes, the rebellion, authenticity within our lives. Let me expand on this. So with the energy of Uranus, it's where it is that we break the mold. And again, we had a full moon squaring Uranus last week. A lot of us broke the mold. A lot of us made a change, right? A lot of us had an aha moment that drove us to have a different perspective on something. And with Uranus moving retrograde now, it's not that change slows down, but we begin to contemplate change from an inward out approach. Because again, you can change everything within your outer world, but until you change the inner architecture of your world, you will still experience your life in the same way. Like you can change jobs, but if you still have the same perspective around it, you will likely get stuck in a lot of the same snags or experience a lot of the same dynamics. You can switch to relationships, but until you confront certain elements of your own journey, you will experience Groundhog's Day. The same day, no matter how much you change the scenery, the location, the person, the job, whatever it is, ultimately change comes from within. So with Uranus retrograde, you could be starting to wonder, where do I want to change from the inside out? Maybe it's not so much that I need a new job, a new relationship, and all these changes. Maybe there's something from the inside out that I can change. I have shared a bit about this year. It's been interesting, and my morning routines was really stemmed from this desire around, I don't know what to change. So my focus is going to be getting myself, my inner world, into alignment, because I feel like that'll drive the right external shifts that are the most supportive for me. Because I don't want to get in loops where it's like everywhere I go, there I am, because I'm not changing from the inward out. I'm just changing my outer reality without matching it with the inner timeline shifts, with the inner quantum leaps, with the inner perspective shifts. So the morning routines are just a slice of that work that I've been dedicating myself to around, let me really figure this out from the inside out. So I'm not just being restless and changing things around me if it's not truly satiating what I'm looking for. Like, where am I craving change? Some of us could be asking that. Also, Uranus brings up themes of our own authenticity. And so you could be contemplating, what are the elements of myself that I've been stifling? Right? If you did depart a relationship, depart a job, this could be an energy around getting a little rebellious from the inside out around, my partner didn't like it when I had short hair. I'm going to cut my hair short because that's what I like. That's what makes me feel the most in alignment with myself. Like, there could just be an energy around your rebellion showing up in ways that's not really rebellious to the outside world, but feels like an internal rebellion. Feels like an internal win in regards to reclaiming your sovereignty as a human being. And speaking of sovereignty and power, I also want to highlight on Sunday, we have Pluto re-entering Capricorn. This happens at 5:10 p.m. and this is a big deal, but it's more so defined by the entire fall. It's not defined by just your Sunday, September 1st. So I don't want you to feel like your life is going to crumble and fall apart all on Sunday, September 1st. What I will say is you should start to feel a certain finale beginning to build within your fall. Around, you might have thought that your transformation was done with Pluto and Capricorn, and look at where you have Capricorn within your chart to figure out what that story has been. But Pluto has one final message to share. It has one final encore. It has one final time to take its bow. And it really asks us, have we completely integrated that transformation? Have we completely allowed that arena of our life to crumble in order to rebuild? The energy of Pluto and Capricorn. You may have felt like the Capricorn section of your sky has crumbled. And maybe it did. Maybe you've had many beginnings and endings, many transformations, a lot of resilience. I would definitely recommend to check out my Capricorn full moon video. I'll link it above as well as below. Even though that's talking about a full moon that we experienced in July, it touches on a lot of your Pluto and Capricorn themes, and particularly where you have 29 degrees Capricorn, check that out. But with the energy of Pluto in this sector, there could have been things that have crumbled. But it's important to know that it did not take away your life. Like, you are still here. And that is a win within itself, right? There might have been parts of you that fell away. There might be parts of you that did not make it through to the other side. But if you are watching this Magic Monday, my loves, in many ways, you are a survivor. And so just also honoring with this grand finale of Pluto and Capricorn, what this transit did not take away from you. Like, it might have taken away a lot. It might have made things crumble, but there is a lot that you were able to retain, and you became so much stronger as a result of that. And sometimes things have to crumble. Sometimes things have to crumble. I recently started therapy for the first time. And something that she shared with me that I just want to repeat here, just in case it's helpful to anyone else, is she was basically just saying, like, a lot of the circumstances in your life created this perfect storm now to deal with this recurring issue within your life. Like, you would not have had to fix this or address this or to go there had you not had this crumbling, or had you not had this perfect storm of events within your life that forced you. Like, you have no choice but to face this and to confront this. And so sometimes when things are crumbling, it is for our own good, as painful as it could be in the moment. It's like, gosh, I guess all of this had to fall apart when I was 30, or else it would have just kept continuing, and maybe it would have fallen apart when I was older. And help me reframe, because it's like, when things are crumbling, when things are falling apart, it's hell to go through. But a lot of times you realize, like, gosh, that tower was built on a shaky foundation. Like, it was bound to crumble. And these circumstances were just the perfect storm to allow it to crumble, to finally address that foundation, to hopefully build back stronger. For the love of God. And even just that, we're viewing it that way, around this perfect storm of things having to crumble for me to finally address that foundation, rather than just building continuously on it, on this foundation that was not sustainable. Help me kind of reframe what within my life is falling away and imploding and all of that, which some of you could be feeling, or you could have felt throughout the Pluto and Capricorn story. And that is being addressed this fall. And it's the final time that during our lifetimes we will experience Pluto and Capricorn. So I just want to give a round of applause to my Aries loves, my Cancer loves, my Libra loves, my Capricorn loves, my Cardinal loves. You will never experience Pluto and Capricorn making a harsh aspect to your planets ever again. Ever again, unless modern medicine advances in such a way that we're all able to live another 250 years. My love, you've done it. You have done it. And that is a badge of honor. Not everybody necessarily will have a Pluto harsh transit within their lifetime, and you've done it. Like, you've got a little bit more to go. Pluto and Capricorn still has to take its final bows. It still has to tie up the story once and for all. It still has to take its final bow. But for the most part, this is the final stretch. It's the final countdown of Pluto and Capricorn. So I would say on Sunday, you know, we've got this Uranus reverberation with its switching directions. Be open to ahas. The Leo moon does align with Mercury, who's now direct early in the morning, trines Chiron, squares Uranus. Be open to mindset shifts. Be open to conversations that allow you to view something differently. Be open to you seeing things differently. Being open to operating in ways that are unusual for you. Again, sometimes people are portals to access new sides of ourselves and to add new colors to the palette, but you can wake up and change your life at any moment in time. Like, you can decide to pop into that new cafe. You can decide, I want to dye my hair pink. Like, sometimes it can be empowering to just remember that, like, you're a sim. You are a sim, and you are in control of your reality, and you can make your avatar, you can make yourself do whatever it is that you want. And sometimes it's helpful just do something weird, just to remind yourself, I'm alive and I have the agency and the ability to go do this. There could be something like that showing up, you know, with Uranus energy alive. There could be something unexpected that happens, unexpected weather, something spontaneous, a spontaneous desire, unexpected emotions surfacing. But those are the sort of things that keep things interesting, right? The Leo moon does sextile Mars in Gemini around 5:45 p.m. So you might be feeling more passionate. You might be feeling more inclined to want to move your body, maybe even learn something new. The moon is then void until it enters Virgo at 8:48 p.m., drawing our awareness to the small details of our life and how we can improve, how we can make more efficient, how we can optimize in order to move towards our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And again, Virgo energy does have an eye for detail. It does have an eye for improvement, but it's just important not to be hard on yourself within that pursuit. When we talk about relationships, the most important relationship that you will have in this lifetime is with yourself. So make it a good one, and make this desire to want to be the best that you can possibly be a more encouraging tone. So my loves, that is our week. Our Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I see beauty and love in everything, in everyone, and everywhere. Beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder. Same goes with love. And this week's astrology asks you to look around. Like, you're not going to behold any love or beauty if you are just collapsed into yourself, or beating yourself up for old mistakes, or thinking that the best days are behind you, or thinking that you made a decision that messed up your destiny. My love, your destiny is right now. Your destiny is all around you. So look up, look around, enjoy this experience, see the beauty and love that exists in all ways and always. And even if you're moving through something, allow that to give you hope that this world has so much sweetness, so much beauty, and so much love for you to experience. So if you made it to the end of this forecast, go ahead and comment below the sunset emoji to let me know that you made it to the end. I love our little game. Or you can use the word sunset within a sentence to let me know as well. I want to give a warm thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday forecast. Reminder, you can get 20% off when you utilize my code COMET. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay